Alright, we've all seen this picture, I think, by now. Kayla Lemieux. And I am Jennifer McCreath. I'm a little bit late on this story. Today's October 4th, 2022. I believe this story is a couple weeks old, but I've had so much on my plate that I haven't had a chance to actually do a video on this one and comment. This is a very peculiar story, and I have a theory behind this whole thing. For those of you who are not familiar with this, Kayla Lemieux is a shop teacher at a high school in Oakville, Ontario, Canada, who came out as trans apparently about a year ago, and recently started, I guess, attending school wearing these large breast, I'm not sure what you'd call them, implants, prosthetics, whatnot. And this has led to some outrage. Students have complained about this. Parents of some of the students have complained about this. Political parties and various special interest groups are speaking out about this. The school board has come out saying that they don't want to be accused of discriminating against someone who's trans, so they will not be making any changes or requests of said teacher. Now, I am trans, and I've been out trans 15 years. I've met a lot of trans people. I know that every trans person is different, and everybody has a different way to go about transitioning. However, I gotta be honest, most trans people I know want to fit in. They want to blend into society and be accepted for who they are, specifically trans women. The last thing they want to do is, we already stand out because we're different, we're trans, and if people know we're trans, people are going to be uncomfortable just with the notion of it because it's not something they've been educated about. So the last thing I would expect a trans person to do would be to do something like this, to stand out in such a way, full well knowing that it would bring a firestorm of media attention and go viral. After digging deep into the archives of Google, it was brought to my attention that this same teacher a year ago, pre-transition, made some sort of remark about there only being two genders. And there is a theory out there that this teacher is not actually trans, and this is strictly a ploy and a publicity stunt. They are trolling the system to prove a point. And my theory, and again, it's just a theory, I don't have proof. I do look at trends. I follow government, I follow departments of education. I know how governments operate and how policies work. And it all seems just too convenient that the school board is simply spitting out this one-liner of, we're accepting of all trans people, there's a Human Rights Act, and we don't want to violate it. Again, you can't always understand tone or context when you're reading a press release in print. But my theory is that they're all in this together. There's people in the school, there's people on the school board, maybe even people in the Premier's cabinet who are angry that the federal government has proclaimed not just human rights for trans people, but the notion that one can self-identify and they must be taken at their word. Way back in 2007 when I transitioned, it wasn't even just trans, it was transsexual. Not even transgender, the term was transsexual. Now that's a term that a lot of these, I don't know what we'll call them, non-binary, maybe. I get, we used to call them non-ops. But I'm now branded a trans medicalist because I believe that as a transsexual, it's a medical condition that requires medical intervention. And that's exactly what I went and got. I took hormones. I have had surgeries. Healthcare, medical, yes. This is not just about dressing up in a costume. And I get it. There's a lot of trans people that say, I want to be trans, I don't want, or I don't feel I need surgeries. Fine. Whatever. But this one just seems way out there. When I came out as trans, and again, this is 2007 in Newfoundland as opposed to Ontario, still fairly new. And there were challenges just getting some education and awareness out there. But that was kind of the focus. Prior to me coming to Newfoundland, my understanding is that trans people had never been accepted or taken seriously at all here. And I was going to be the first one to actually say, no, I'm not one of these Jerry Springer episodes. And that's essentially what we're seeing play out here with Kayla, the shop teacher, is something akin to a Jerry Springer episode, a so-called freak show, if you will. If I were president of that school board, one, perception is reality. Government is, sometimes it's dealing with problems, sometimes it's dealing with perceived problems. You've got a PR situation here. You need to go into crisis management. And then the proper thing to do would probably be say, we are aware that there are some concerns raised. We are going to look into the matter. Instead of just saying we have to follow the Human Rights Act, say we are quite happy to sit down with all parties involved and do a little trans education and awareness, Trans 101. Now the other issue that came up was dress code. Aside from the breast size of said prosthetics, I also took note that this shop teacher was wearing a pair of shorts. No matter what, if you're going to fit into the business world, business attire is kind of expected. And at the very least, if you're going to have extra large breasts, so what? It doesn't mean you should be wearing certain type of clothing that would be deemed not business professional clothing. So maybe that's where you can deal with this and say, okay, well, let's change the dress code, or let's enforce the dress code. You can't wear shorts if you're teaching, you got to wear a suit or a dress or whatever. But yeah, I'm not buying it. I think this is a troll job. I think it's a complete sham. These folks don't like the idea that trans people can self-label as trans. They want the system to go back to, I guess, the idea that trans people are those who engage the healthcare system and make the effort to undertake hormones and surgeries. And to one particular extent, I kind of I get their point and I understand what they're trying to say. And I think that's the same thing we're seeing with some of these other folks out there coming up with other bizarre stories of humans wanting to transition to become other different type of mammals. Yeah, I don't know. Bottom line is this situation is not being handled well, and my, I guess, issue here is how does this reflect on the trans community as a whole? People are going to judge the entire trans community based on interactions they may have with even just one trans person. I'd like to think that if people met me, that they would walk away with solid core understanding, Trans 101 education and awareness, if you will. But if this is going to be somebody's one and only exposure to the trans community, they're getting a very, very skewed ideology of what being trans is all about. And to have breasts at that size, I don't even think that's humanly possible, even with surgeries. I can't think of anyone. I understand the concept of breast enhancement, not just for trans people, but for any person. Some people want to have bigger breasts than what they got. But to want breasts that are probably 5 times bigger than anyone else's breasts in world history, that just doesn't make sense either. And that's another sign that, to me, this is some sort of a ploy. Or as they're saying on Twitter, it's a troll job. If I'm wrong, reach out. I'd love to have a chat with you. What's the name again? Kayla. The last name is not here now. Lemieux. Sorry. Kayla Lemieux. Je parle un peu de français, but the English would be a little easier. But if you do see my video, and I'm wrong, give me a call. But I think I'm right, because I wasn't born yesterday. And I'm usually pretty good at figuring stuff like this out. I'm an analyst. And yeah, I think this is one big ploy. And I think even some of the people who are complaining about it are in on it. They just want to be perceived as complaining because they're trying to make this a big deal. And build a, what's that phrase? Mountain out of a molehill. Anyway, there's my thoughts. And if I am correct, I hope Kayla will stop this foolishness and apologize. And I hope if anyone was in on this at the school board level, that they all get fired. Because a publicity stunt like this to try to harm the transgender community is absolutely deplorable, and it's a disgrace. And anyone who's involved in something like that should have no business in any branch of government, especially the education system. I'm Jenn from Creeth. Those are my thoughts. What do you think, folks? Love to hear from you.